and welcome to episode 63 of the GuildMag Podcast. We are live at twitch.tv/GuildMag, and it's a Thursday evening / afternoon in America. And we're joined this week by Kora. Say hi, Kora. I think she might have forgotten to unmute her microphone. We were away last week, but we are back again with 2 weeks worth of news, and we are doing a special Primordus v Jormag lore episode this week, because there's very little else to actually talk about. So before all that, we are going to do the news as we always do. So Halloween is now over. Sad times. So there was a small patch on Tuesday that removed the event and brought a couple of gem store items. So new to the gem store for 400 gems is the plush Aurene backpack, so you can have her jiggle around with you on your back for the whole time. I think your mic might still be muted, Kora.
Oh, yes it was. I'm so excited by that little, it's so cute. I want a real one. I want a real one in real life that I can squeeze.
It is pretty cute, isn't it? So
I still want the mini though.
Yeah, I know you've been ever since she was revealed, you've been like, maybe this paves the way for a mini.
I know.
Yeah. And so in addition to that, there are some brand new hair colours in the makeover kits. So if you would like your hair to be banana milk, you can now have your hair banana milk colour.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
What a description.
And yeah, that was it for Gemstore stuff. There was an unfortunate consequence of the patch. That was this sort of leak / mistake that happened on ArenaNet's part. So when the patch hit on the Tuesday, there was the jungle worm model got replaced by a new one that people are kind of predicting is to do with potentially like Living World or the next expansion. And it's since been removed, but for I think at least a couple of hours in game, you could go into like Try Arbor and see this kind of model that isn't meant to be there. Obviously, like an in development model, which we will talk about a little bit later on, actually. And there was kind of this whole like thread on Reddit. I think Wooden Potatoes did a video about it as well. So we will go into that shortly. But since we weren't here last week, we will cover the news for last week as well. So the 1st November patch brought some changes to Black Lion chests. So you can now some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like containers have preview options associated with them. And Black Lion chest loot has been reworked, so there are no more boosters, but each chest now rewards 3 to 4 items from like this list that you can preview. And so every chest guarantees a seasonal item. So for Halloween it was trick or treat bags. I don't actually know, have they been updated since that patch? Do you know what the seasonal item is?
There should be
now. I have no idea.
It should just be 3. It should be just 3 normal.
Oh, should it?
Yeah. Yeah, because we're not in any.
We're not in.
Right now.
Okay. Fair enough. You also get a convenience item, an item that will progress your account in some way, and there is a consistent chance of 4th drop that is uncommon or rare. And the big thing that got a lot of people excited is the guaranteed wardrobe unlock, which is in the common category. So it's a fairly common drop, and this basically will unlock a random wardrobe skin that's either rare or like less. For your account, so it includes outfits, weapon skins, minis, mail carriers, so lots of cool stuff and stuff that you could get in the gem store that you can unlock through this that you wouldn't be able to get any other way. So it's quite a cool, nice little. I quite like it. It's a nice little thing. I haven't actually opened any Black Lion chests apart from the free one we got, but because I'm not, my luck with those chests is not that great. Whereas Sandra,
I got a ticket scrap, I think, which I was excited about in my free chest, which never really happens whenever I get a free key.
We were just talking about this on the Shadow of the Dragon podcast. In 4 years, what are we going on? 5 years since the game launched. I will admit I don't buy keys, so I'm not constantly opening chests. But of all the chests that I have open, I've gotten enough to make 2 tickets.
That's 2 more than I've ever made.
Yeah. So I just don't open them.
I think I maybe have like 3 or 4 scraps total. I just don't get lucky.
Yeah. Neither do I. Yeah, no, I think one of those tickets was like the luckiest drop I've ever gotten in game because it was a whole ticket that came from a box. But otherwise, it's years and years of scraps, and I'm just like, I'm never gonna get the fancy weapons.
I know. Do you usually buy keys, or do you get just the keys from map completion?
Map completion. Like I said, we were just talking about this on the podcast, but if there was more incentive for me, like there was a bigger chance to get scraps, or you got like mini scraps that you could then combine to make a big scrap that then you combine to make. But like if you got a guaranteed something every Black Lion chest that I could then build towards making these tickets, I would be more inclined to buy keys. But
I kind of agree.
For this random drop that I almost never get, it's not worth it for me.
Yeah, because it's like a random drop, and then you've got to have so many random drops to be able to actually form, a ticket to get something.
If I'm gonna buy gems, I can spend them on other things like the 5,000 outfits and glider skins and Marine backpacks.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
I'm convinced. I'm sorry.
No, go on.
Ahead. I was just going to say I'm convinced that there's a different loot table for bought keys instead of earned keys. But maybe I'm wrong, but that's my conspiracy theory.
Who knows? Maybe.
We'll see.
Indeed. So also right now in the gem store, we have the Doomsday Preparation Pack for 2,000 gems. And inside it is a Shadow and Flame die kit, a Raiment of the Leech, shared inventory slot, and a Watchwork mining pick. So, if you want all that for a mere 2,000 gems, it's yours. And
that's a good little. I don't know. That's a good little.
You like it?
Thing of stuff or things. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Everlasting mining picks aren't they like 1,000?
Yeah, they are.
So it's not. It's not bad value actually when you think about it.
Yeah.
And then the Raiment of the Lich outfit, that's like what, 700?
Yeah. Usually outfits are about 700.
Yeah, around there. And then flame kits are I guess it's a good deal.
Yeah.
Well, there you go then. 2,000 gems. And that was the community news. Sandra.
Yeah. So
gems.
So sorry guys, we're a little silly today. Community news, is a bit slow. But the one thing that I found, which is cool, there's someone who's crowdsourced together, and updated the Rift maps, from Gilscale Pond, current events.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for a new updated Rift map with more spawn points, that you can access with your device, the coordinates on the device, go check it out. It's up on Reddit right now. I think it's on page 1 on Reddit. Currently, we're on page 2. So, yeah.
There are quite a lot of points, actually, aren't there? Actually looking at it.
Yeah. That's why I thought, hey, you know what? This is good stuff. And they're just been really... I mean, they're all over the place, so it's kind of cool. Now, you liked this Rift play, because I still haven't played it.
Sandra!
I know!
Of all the days to admit it.
Oh, I know. Well, I've been so crazy busy lately, but yeah, I just haven't played it yet. But you liked the Gilscale Pond one, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun little thing. I think it's quite interesting to see where it's going to go, because obviously, I think it's still the case you can't do anything beyond the Class 2.
Rift.
Yeah, like they don't actually do anything apart from just sending you all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's something that I guess a lot of people were expecting, like, when's the next sort of current event stuff gonna happen? Because I don't know, part of me was expecting to see something once Halloween ended, and that obviously hasn't been the case, so I wonder if we're gonna see something maybe in like a week or two to tide us over in this month.
Mm-hmm. I mean, their release cadence has kind of followed that, so I would hope that we'd get something this month, at least one thing.
Yeah.
What did you like out of these Rift events, Kora? Because I'm sure you played them.
Are we talking about where it was like the magic? That not like, and then there was the sad anomaly, but I didn't ever do the sad anomaly ones.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I like the current events. My problem was though that I'd have to leave game and go to a website, Reddit or Dolphy or somewhere else to find out that there is an event going on, and where do I need to go to trigger it, and like what do I need to do to trigger all the achievements for it, which I think is doing a disservice to the game. There's a current events tab. Like why don't you just list all the achievements there?
I think,
they keep showing up like hidden events that you discover.
I think in a way it's kind of cool. It rewards you for discovering it, but I think my favorite thing was with the latest, where it was like the achievement that you followed basically as a quest for the the whole Shadowstone thing, which made it. I quite enjoyed that because it was just laid out what you needed to do, and you didn't necessarily have to go and look up a guide.
Like even if it was just the mysterious E sending us a letter saying like, hey, there's something going out over in this area, you might want to go check it out, investigate, and then you get there and it triggers the current event to show up in your hero tabs or the achievements tab. That would be enough for me. Just something in game that points me in a direction. Right. I don't like feeling like lore is hidden from me. So, but I will go, and at some point I'll look up something and I'll go and I'll do all the little current events, because it does drive me crazy that I haven't done them. But like Sandra, my life has also been a little crazy. So I was like, I just hope they stay in game and that they don't disappear. So
that's the thing that I've appreciated about them, is that they have left them in so that you can jump in and catch up on them whenever you have the time.
Because it's good content. It's really good content, so I highly recommend it to everybody. I've just been lazy, not wanting to go find them.
And I think the first few had you receiving letters from what's that priory chick who's down in Lion's Arch over by the Tengu area? Ella McKay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She'd sent a couple of in-game mails, but then they kind of went away from that. So I'm kind of hoping that we get to interact with her a bit more, or just someone that will indicate where we can go next.
As Drax says in chat, they do generally drop hints in the patch notes, but I don't think it's very consistent, the hint droppings. I think I'm pretty sure they've gone a couple of patches where they haven't necessarily dropped that many hints in the patch notes.
And then that's also requiring that every player has to read the patch notes to know about it.
Yeah.
Right.
And not everybody enjoys reading patch notes.
And not everyone does, because they're just not following their social media or checking the forums often.
You have to go out of game to go and read them. So it's still kind of the same problem.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people who I just want to play the game. I don't want to have to read I don't want to have to read a book to know where the stuff. Yeah, just
give me the answers now.
Yeah, you've had a long day at work. Your kids are stressing you out. You just want to log in and know that there's new content there. You don't want to have to go, oh wait, hold on a second. I have to scroll through this long list of patch notes to find there is a hint of new content, and then I have to then go to somewhere else to figure out what do I have to do.
I think maybe the perfect way to do it would be just, I don't know what they call it, like the current event tracker thing, that they used to do quite a lot. Just maybe stick something in there. Just say, oh, there's something going on over here.
Yeah.
Job done.
Yeah. I mean, it literally, for me, it literally could be a message, one sentence from, literally, have it make it the mysterious E character. We don't need to know who it is. It's just, hey, there's a thing. Go talk to so and so over here.
Check this out.
Yeah. One sentence is enough to point me in the direction, and I'm on board. Let's do this, GuildLores. So.
Awesome. All right, so we shall move on to GuildMag news and then get into our actual discussion for this episode. So some exciting stuff. We need like a drum roll or something. There we go. So after an eternity, our next magazine is finally going to be released this weekend on GuildMag.com. So that is issue 17. and explores everything that's awesome about the grand old continent of Ilona, which...
You did a lot of alliteration there.
Did I?
You did.
I didn't even notice that. It's awesome. And so, which is quite relevant at the moment, actually, considering what we're going to be talking about first with the jungle worm mishap. Make sure you check out guildmag.com this weekend and our social media to be able to download the latest digital edition. And in addition to that, there is yet more news. So if you've been following GuildMag for a while now, you'll know that last December we released our first physical magazine, which is the annual 2015. You prematurely put it up. I was going to do a big reveal.
You go ahead.
Which you can see over there that Sandra's looking at. And so we opened them up to pre-orders, and the community was able to get their hands on one of our physical editions. This year we are bringing the annual back. So our 2016 annual is going to be bigger and better than ever, with some really awesome contributions from various content creators around the community, which we will reveal in due course. And the 2016 annual will be available for purchase from the 28th of November this month. So more information to follow soon. So check out guildmag.com and all our social media to keep up to date with that. And that's the news. So let's move on to what we're actually going to talk about. So we're doing kind of like a Fire and Ice, Jormag v Primordus Lori sort of special episode. So I'm going to talk about those two Elder Dragons, kind of how they fit into the current Living World stuff, and sort of some Season 3 speculation. But before we do that, we're going to kind of talk about this jungle worm / Junundu. I'm trying to think of a word that sums up what went on. So kind of, I guess before we do this, we are going to be talking certainly for the next 5 to 10 minutes about stuff that were kind of leaked in a sense. So this does include a leaked screenshot that was previously done a couple of months ago. And we have kind of held off about talking about this until now, but with what happened this week, it's kind of, with it actually being something that's happened in game, it's most of the player base has seen this kind of mistake now, so I think it's worth talking about at least a little bit. And just so I guess everyone is on the same sort of page, GuildMag as a fan site is an ArenaNet partner, but none of us on this show know what's coming. All the partners don't actually get access to that information, so everything we're saying is pure kind of speculation based on what we've seen, just like you guys. So anything we talk about is absolutely not confirming anything that ArenaNet are working on.
Yeah, we're clueless.
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened is ArenaNet accidentally swapped jungle worm textures with a new one that looks suspiciously like a Junundu from Nightfall. And so there is a link Sandra's just posted if you hadn't seen this yet. And basically, it's quite like a detailed model. So it's like a browny reddish colour, and there's fluorescent-y blue lights on its spine and then on its front kind of thing. And it's got so if you've ever seen concept art or the actual models from the original Nightfall, the Junundu were these massive desert worms that you as players needed to go and tame in order to be able to cross the Desolation, which was this massive arid sulphurous wasteland that there's no other way to cross apart from basically getting inside. Was it inside or was it on top?
I think it was inside.
There we go. And there is the image on Kora's screen. So that's kind of the model that they released into Guild Wars 2 by accident. And people kind of naturally made this connection. Oh, it looks quite like Junundu, especially with its mouthy, clawy things on the front of the model that look very much like the concept art in the original ones. And kind of combined with the leaked screenshot a couple of months ago now, I can't remember how long exactly, but there was a screenshot that was leaked that supposedly showed off a player character in a place called Amnoon Oasis, which in the original prophecies was just this little outpost on the edge of the Crystal Desert. So with these two things combined, it's kind of heavily pointing towards, pushing us towards the Crystal Desert, potentially even, into Alona, the Desolation, that sort of stuff, for either Living World or the next expansion. And I think it's an interesting conversation to have. I think at this point it's potentially relatively legitimate with the model that popped in. I don't think there's anything else realistically that model could be trying to represent. It looks very much Junundu like. I think, as Wooden Potatoes pointed out in his video, it's worth pointing out that the way we saw the models in game are on like quite small jungle worms, whereas in Nightfall the Junundu are actually like gigantic worms that you could actually get inside. So I think if you imagine the actual model scaled up to maybe the size it's actually meant to be, it seems quite promising that we're going to Alona.
So
I love the Nightfall, so if that happens, I'm all on board for that.
Yeah, it was my favorite campaign out of all of them, definitely.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because they've dropped that model in to the DAP file, I'm wondering if it will come sooner, not an expansion, but like in a Living World episode, possibly soon. Which kind of raises the question of what would take us there.
Absolutely.
Now,
because it's very much, Crystal Desert is very much like Krakatoric's domain, which is where you'd expect.
Yeah.
But as of yet, we haven't had any sort of indication or dealings with Krakatoric. We're very much at the moment focused on Primordus and Jormag, well, especially Primordus with Ember Bay. So,
the only connection that we've got right now is that Aurene hatched.
Yeah.
And she's Glint's baby.
Yeah.
And Glint was Krakatoric's champion? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think right now to drop it into a Living World episode, like even 3, maybe 4, I think they'd need a bit of build up to kind of justify going out.
Yeah.
All the way on that side when we're kind of focused on this part of the map, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it would feel a little bit like giving everybody whiplash to suddenly we're focused on Primordus and oh my god, Jormag's awake. Oh, but we're actually gonna head over to Alona.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So I'm not. I don't.
And to me, it's like, I mean, when I was thinking about what would actually going to Alona look like how, like, is an entire new continent actually feasible for what ArenaNet would put into an expansion? Because obviously previously, Nightfall and the original, Cantha, they introduced entire new continents. But with Heart of Thorns, we really only got 4 new maps. If you don't include, Bloodstone Fen and Ember Bay as expansion content and look at them as Living World instead.
Yeah.
And so to actually go to a whole new continent, you're going to need to produce more than 4 maps, right? It's, there's a massive area to fill. And certainly a much wider story that needs to be told, because the thing going on with Alone at the moment is, Palawa Joko is meant to have control over it with his undead army and, whatnot. So there's that whole, as well as giving us a reason to go there, potentially with Krakatoric or whatever, you'd need to deal with the whole Joko thing as well, and produce a whole load of maps, and on top of like the elite specs and whatever else they're playing, mastery tracks and whatever else they're planning to include with it. So is it likely that we'd go to an entire new continent, or is it more likely that we'd stay interior but do all like the Crystal Desert and maybe like Scavenger's Causeway properly, but not actually go into Alona?
I think I'm trying to picture Alona right now, and then knowing that Palo Joko is in control, there are humans there, but they're basically slave labor. I would imagine that there is still a resistance of sun spears out there, but they're the rebel, they're in hiding. But then thinking of Tyria, which is lush and full of so many different species running around. We've got Char, we've got Asura. We got the 5 main playable races, but then there's other races. There's Tengu, there's Kodan, there's Quaggan, and then I'm trying to think of Alona, and I'm like, there's just going to be undead and human. Like, that feels not balanced. Like, they would have to come up with other sentient races that we haven't experienced, or maybe bring back old ones. I would be very interested to see how they could pull it off without it feeling like, yeah, it's just this dead land of slaves and undead running around.
Yeah.
It would be strange.
I mean, well, Drax brings up in chat that the Order of Whispers has been running a resistance over there. So I wonder if the races have gotten... I mean, the Order of Whispers has members of all of the playable races currently. So I would expect that we'd get to see them that way. To still keep that flavor, so it's not just, monoracial.
Yeah, Drax is saying centaurs, harpies, giants. That's true, they were in there, but I mean, they're in Tyria now, but they're, for the most part, I mean, they're enemy, they're NPC, we just cut them down.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be Hecate, yeah. So there would be some life there, but I wonder, they were annoying.
Yeah. Jinn. And you know what? The Jinn actually play into. There's been a lot of talk about whether or not the anomalies were pre-Jinn entities. And then if you go into, like, if you did the sound anomaly thing, if you go and walk into the Mystic Forge, before you did sound anomaly, you looked like an anomaly. You'd have to actually walk into the spot. Your body would change. The player character's body would change, and it would acquire this, sad anomaly look, basically. But now it's a bit more refined. There's less brightness to it. And when I did it a couple of weeks ago, it was like, it felt like they were Jinn-like. It looked a bit Jinn-like. I don't know. So I don't know where, I'm throwing the spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, it would be an interesting way to come in and bring in, maybe we could find out what's going on with Zolmoros, and why is he the last one? Is he the last one?
Yeah. I would hope he's not the last one. I've said before, ArenaNet does a lot of the last of the enter said race name,
right.
And that is a thing that you can do with narrative, but when it's the thing that you start to sort of become known as, like the last of the Seers, the last of the Mersat, the last of the Dwarves, the last of the, like, how many of the last of?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we thought, like, the dwarves, they went and made themselves like the Great Dwarf, and they're gone now. It's only Ogden now. We've got what's his name? Name?
I never actually I never actually thought Ogden was the last of. Like, I still assume like they're all down there fighting. We'll probably see them again someday, but they're all stone. Like, they're never going to be a playable race, and I'm fine with that. But I didn't expect Ogden to be the last of but there was sort of that feel.
Mm-hmm.
And Drax points out the original anomaly in Thormanova has similarities with Diamond Jinn in Nightfall too. So yeah, I mean, I guess you can make the case there'd be some interesting stuff to go on alone. I think it boils down to maybe how much time are they going to invest in developing this expansion. Is it going to be a Heart of Thorn size expansion, or is it going to be, I guess, like a Nightfall sized expansion? Is the real question. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they just did like the Crystal Desert and all, down the south east. I had to check my map coordinates then properly, and didn't go to Alona, but I don't imagine that would go over particularly well with many people.
I think a lot of people were upset, feeling that Heart of Thorn. I remember just hearing over and over again, Heart of Thorns is just too small of an expansion. So I think the next one, people really are hoping that it's going to be Nightfall size, that we are going to get. I mean, if you're going to call it an expansion pack, that it would be new continent, many new maps, a much bigger storyline. I enjoyed Heart of Thorns, but I did feel sad that there were things that had been cut, like Malik's, and the tree that Malik's came from. I feel like that should have been, we should have seen him come back. He, maybe even if it was just, oh my God, he's Mordrum, and his tree is now a blighting tree. They're like, I would still love to see them do something, touch on that to wrap up that loose end. I think it's possible. It's just I don't know that they're going to want to look back. I think they're just looking forward. So I don't know that we're ever going to get resolution to that, which is sad because it was part of the vision originally. You could see that it was. So.
Yeah, I really hope they do learn from Heart of Thorns and they take their time with it. They seem to be now, at least, because they're obviously developing it in tandem with what's going on, whereas previously it kind of felt like they were just all focused on Heart of Thorns and kind of left the core game to its own devices for however many months.
Well, I mean, Season 3 is already, it feels so much stronger than Season 2, and Season 1, which I enjoyed them at the time, but like, now looking in retrospect, I'm like, oh my God, they found a good cadence. They're putting out really polished content. So I want to see more. Because they're doing such a good job. Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
So I guess, as always, it's just a case of wait and see what happens. And I'm kind of sad in a way that these leaks have happened, because it takes kind of the kind of mystery and the big reveals away from it, because I'd have loved to just have them to just be able to come along and be like, hey, we're going to Alona now, just like out of nowhere.
Right. But like when they revealed that Heart of Thorns was coming, remember how the community just exploded. I mean, it was just pure joy and excitement and everything, and it feels like some of that's just kind of been taken away from us in a way. Like, we've got all the speculation now, but it's because someone's gone and basically cheated ArenaNet in a way.
Yeah.
And which sucks.
Maybe this is just a giant plan of ArenaNet. Like, they purposely leaked that image to make us think we're going Crystal Desert and we're actually going Cantha.
Wow, that would be a bold move. Could happen. You never know.
I mean, I think it would be pure genius if they're like, okay, we got to distract him from what the real plan is. So let's drop some like leaked models for Alona.
That would be awesome. Yeah. We should wait and see. So that was Alona. And hello to all the mighty Teapot Raiders that have just joined us. Welcome to the GuildMag Podcast.
Hi.
So we are going to we are going to move on to some Primordus and Jormag lore, which Kora is going to carry us through, because we know, Sandra and I collectively probably know about like 10% of what Kora knows.
We find it all interesting and we just go on.
I'm so excited.
So,
Sandra.
So Kora,
take it away.
I'm going to ask you, for those of you, even though we've been talking here for about 40 minutes now, for those of you who may not know, or those in the community who may not know you, or follow your Twitter, tell us a little bit about yourself and why are you our lore expert today?
I, a little over a year ago, started a Twitter account called GuildLores, LORES. Because I'm punny. I was so convinced somebody else would have thought it up, because like, how could you not? It's just so perfect. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll put it in on Twitter, but somebody else has already done this idea, and it got accepted, and I was like, wait, what? I guess now I have to do this. So on that Twitter account, GuildLores, I tweet. I try to do 4 times a day, every day, little lore tidbits, and I try to group them as a theme. So right now I'm talking about the Arcane Council and the council members. The other week, what was I talking about? I don't even remember at this point. Because I'm always on the wiki looking up lore, and I'll read an article and then there's a hyperlink and I'm like, oh, I don't know about that. So I click the hyperlink and then like 4 hours later I come out in like a big 3-eyed haze. So I tweet about the GuildLores. Because it's amazing. I've played since the original Guild Wars, since about 4 months after it launched, when I was watching X play on the TV on G4, and they did Morgan Webb and Adam Sessler did a review of GuildLores, and it was probably like 8:30 at night, and I put my shoes and my pants back on, and I was still living at home with the parents, and I told my mom, I'll be right back, I gotta go to the computer store, and because that's what you did back in the day. You had to drive to the computer store and buy a physical box of the game. Mm-hmm. And she was like, wait, what? What are you doing? It's late at night, Samantha. And so I went and I bought a physical game, and I came home and I uploaded it onto the computer that night, and I have been playing ever since. I love this game. So yeah, you can tell I'm a little obsessive about it. So.
Nice. So you should be able to answer every question we're going to throw at you.
Right.
Like, what does this mean? What does that mean?
Mm-hmm. I will try my best. There's so much. It's definitely one of those things, like, I've forgotten more than I'll ever know kind of thing. Like, I keep reading, and I'm sure there's, like, some scrap of information that I file away as, like, never forget this, it's so cool. And then I have to forget it to make room for the new cool thing. Mm-hmm. So that's another reason why I love doing the Twitter account, because I'm constantly remembering stuff that I've forgotten and learning new stuff that I never even knew. Or coming up with new theories on, like, how could this work? Or, like, this seemingly contradictory thing, like, how could I justify it within the lore so that it makes sense, that it could be a possible explanation for it. So
yeah, and I think I like your story too about how you end up finding lore, so that you just start exploring something, just go and do it, go out and get curious. And I think just having that curiosity, and being open to just taking you wherever the links lead you.
Yeah, it's not a matter of, it's not a matter of, like, oh, well, what's the starting point? It's like, well, there really isn't. Like, if you want to go chronologically, like, sure, you could look up what's the earliest piece of recorded history according to Tyria's history, but literally just, if you're like, oh, I've always wanted to know about the Asura, but that's such a big thing, just go to the wiki, type in Asura, start reading. If you get distracted by a hyperlink, that's fine. Click that hyperlink and just continue, and you'll circle back. Like, the number of times that I've read, any given page over and over again, is endless. It's just so massive that there is no starting point. There is no ending point. It is the little infinity symbol. It just keeps going.
Yeah. So, taking us off from that Asura connection, they are most closely, or they were the first ones really to encounter Primordus.
She did a segue.
I did. Did you see that? That was good. So Primordus, we've just been meeting his minions again, down in Ember Bay, and we got to fight some of them out in Auric Basin as well in Tarir. Mm-hmm. And before, they were primarily fire type enemies, and now because of Mordramoth's death and Zaitan's death, they've got new powers, where they've got the death and the vine touched. So what, I guess, where do you think they're going to be going with Primordus in the story? Because now he has tried to attack little baby Aurine, who is very cute. Yeah. But he was driven back. We've driven him back, thanks to Lazarus, who came in to save the day. But hey, we did it. Yeah. Do you think that they'll be sneaking in some more incursions into Auric Basin or into some of the other Heart of Thorns maps?
I don't see why not. Because why would you give up attacking something that you clearly feel Aurine as a threat? My curiosity is on why specifically do they feel this tiny little baby dragon is such a big threat? I mean, it's just this little baby dragon. She can't go out there and, like, fight Primordus one-on-one. He literally, like, okay, you're like a tater tot. I'm just gonna down you in one bite.
Right.
So what is it about Aurine? Because it has to be something else that makes her such a threat. And that's why I'm curious. And that's why I feel like they probably won't stop fighting. But she is shielded. I mean, she's protected within Terrier, they've got the shield around her, so how else are they going to strike at her?
Yeah, and there was this whole thing when we first learned about Glint's egg about this being potentially the solution to killing off the Elder Dragons, because they play quite a vital role.
They do.
So I guess we could do a quick TLDR of why we have Elder Dragons, or like what role they play, for anyone that's maybe not aware.
Okay, so the world is full of magic, right? But magic kind of is chaotic. So the Elder Dragons consume magic, and they restore balance to the world by causing a period of low magic. And then as they sleep, they radiate magic out of their body back into the world, which is why Primordus, in the first game, you actually see him in the first game, but you think he's a dragon statue. You think he's this big rock statue. He's asleep. And the Asura built their main city near Primordus. They had the central transfer chamber. They had Asura gates, and they were all powered by the magic emitting from Primordus. So when he woke up, and he's like, I'm leaving, guys. Peace out. He basically destroyed all the stuff, and they no longer had their battery pack to power their portals. So they got out of Dodge and went up to the surface. Same thing with Zaitan, with Mordremoth. They all consumed magic. They were emitting it, and it was wherever they slept were these powerful places, and now that they're awake, they're gone back to consuming magic, removing it from the world. So as we kill them, that magic is being released from their body back into the world, which is why when Zaitan died, when Mordremoth died, now we're seeing Death Touch destroyers and Vine Touch destroyers, because that death magic and that plant magic doesn't have any localized being controlling it, so it's just running wild. So the other dragons are taking it into themselves, and it is changing them, and it's changing their minions.
Yeah.
So
I think too, Drax and Kaidvar bring up in chat that they might not want to kill Aurene. They might want her for something else, which brings up an interesting point. I mean, she is connected to Kralkatorrik, but she was also hit by Mordremoth's energy when he died. And players have commented on how she's got sort of a planty, kind of Mordrum-looking face, and she's got elements that look sort of Mordrum-y. So for Primordus to try and go after her, does he want her for what Drax brings up in chat? Could she possibly have Glint's mass-minded reading ability?
Well, I think we've already seen that she does have some telepathic, because the commander, the player character, doesn't name her Aurene. Aurene sends the message mind to mind that I am Aurene. So we've seen that. We've seen that she doesn't talk the way we talk with our mouths and vocal cords. And Mordremoth also had that ability. I mean, it was all about the mind. He got into your mind, and that's how Savari heard his voice. So it will definitely be interesting to see as that evolves, and especially with Glint's legacy of not just being the telepathic, but prophecies. What can Aurene foresee that makes her a threat?
Yeah. Okay, Devar brings up in chat that remaining dragons could all be looking to steal one another's power, which brings up an interesting point of, like, are we going to be caught in the middle if we're trying to take them out and they're trying to take each other out, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the actual dragon minions are, like, they're not necessarily allies with each other, they are, hostile. So there's nothing to say that they're necessarily friendly, so I think we could potentially see something like that. It'd be interesting to be caught in the middle of, like, this epic Elder Dragon war that we're just like, oh my god, what do I do,
Yeah.
That would be...
Well, I think
make things really interesting.
Yeah, I think for when the game starts, the Elder Dragons are awake. They're not very active yet, except for Zaitan, but they don't really care about the small little races of Tyria. They're not threatened by us. And now that we've killed 2 dragons, I would think that they're starting to feel like, okay, what are these tiny little things that are annoying us? Let's, like,
Swap
okay,
them
that's
with-
fine. That you took
Mhm.
out those weaker ones, but you're not going to take me out. And I'm gonna put this down before it becomes a problem. So yeah, I think we have interesting times up ahead.
Yeah, I mean that could in itself be a reason to go after Aurene, because she's kind of our, I don't know, our new glint, for lack of a better,
Right. Or
phrase.
ally.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if we're looking at her like, okay, we need something to absorb the magic so that it's not running amok, but we need something that's not also going to try to destroy the world while it does that. And we're all looking at Aurene like she's that thing that's going to help us. Then yeah, and if she is consuming magic, the other dragons are going to be upset about that because, dang it, that's their food.
Yes.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, because we know more about what's happening with Primordus, we have gotten this mention that Bram has sent Timey a note saying Jormag's active, peace. and so we've got this big thing like, okay, well, Jormag's active. Hasn't he been active? That was the question that came to my mind. It's like, well, what do you mean he's active now? Hasn't he been active? Because the Sons of Svanir are still around. He affects the weather, or can affect the weather up in the Shiver Peaks, and we've seen that there are changes in things meteorologically. Wow. So where could we go with Jormag? I mean, he's the dragon that's kind of been ignored for a while, apart from Bubbles.
Yeah, I think we're gonna see a bigger push. As far as him being active or not active, I think he has been, but he's been sort of like the king sitting on the throne, like sending out his mercenaries and sending out little, armies here and there to fight. We've been seeing his claws come in and actively hunting Coden and destroying the sanctuaries, and we see the Sons of Svanir making incursions, but they're like the Inquest, they're not like a big threat because they're still allowed in Holbrook as long as they, they're not picking undue fights. I think we would start seeing a bigger push from the Sons of Svanir against all other Norn, so that the Norn, okay, now we've got to stop this. You cannot do that here. I think we're going to see more from the Claws of Jormag, and I think we might, have some actual word of, okay, Jormag was up here in the peaks, and now he's actually moving down closer to Holbrook, and this is where it's becoming a threat. Because the Norn their original home wasn't Holbrook. That's what they built after they fled their homelands that was further north, because Jormag destroyed it. So to have Jormag again making a push on their home, what are you going to do? Are you going to abandon Holbrook and move further south, or are you going to say, no, we are not moving. We are making our stand, and whether or not we die here or not, like, this is it. This is the Norn's final stand.
Right.
But they are going to hold that line. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting actual ice dragon push on Holbrook and the Norn fighting back.
Yeah, and he's an interesting dragon, I think, in that he doesn't really corrupt his minions in the same way that the others do. The Sons of Svanir, they still pretty much seem like they're
just like
they've
normal.
got their own.
They have their own free will, basically.
Right.
Unlike,
yeah, and they choose to follow him. They choose to worship him. So
I think there's a difference between the Ice Brood and the Sons of Svanir. Sons of Svanir can become Ice Brood, but they're more. I'm a big white Norn man, and I'm angry, and I'm gonna go worship dragon because dragon gives me power. Versus the Ice Brood, where it's any Norn, any animal, wolf can become corrupted, and then there are just these ice monsters. So I think there's a difference, but Jormag is the only one that has followers and has a relationship with the followers where it's like, yeah, sure, I'll give you power, go fight in my name. The other dragons don't have that at all. They only have the corrupted minions.
we've got a note here in our show notes. The leaders get rewarded by becoming Ice Brood champions, which seems to work a little bit differently than how the other dragons function. I don't know. I find it an interesting way that he basically tries to entice his followers with this, I guess, seduction of power. Yeah. And that comes out a bit more in, was it Edge of Destiny? When we first meet Air?
Yeah. And it fits within Norn. Like, the Norn are all about, like, we want to be powerful, we want to have a good story that, our legends are told after we die. It's honorable to die in battle as long as, it's a good battle. And so to have that idea, and they believe in the spirits of the wild, so you can have these Norn that look at it and go like, well, dragon is part of nature, just like we sort of saw with Mordramoth. There was some that's like, well, we believe in, the jungle provides all, the dragon is part of the jungle, so isn't that, like, connection? So similar with the Norn, they're looking at it like, dragon is part of nature, we revere the spirits of the wild, therefore dragon is a spirit of the wild, and it's the strongest spirit of the wild.
Right.
So it fits, sort of. But that's where you get, the extremists of that belief, where it's like, because dragon is the most powerful
Oh, I think your mic just cut out.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
did
there we go.
Now you're back.
There we go.
Now you're back.
Okay. I don't know. So, yeah. Drax is saying they see dragon as the ultimate predator, the ultimate hunter. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it fits within a corrupted ideology, and that's where the danger comes in, because there's no balance when you're just about ultimate power.
Yeah,
and
I was going to say it creates it reminds me very much of, with the Sons of Svanir, being like kind of intertwined in Norn society. It's very much like how Savaria were kind of intertwined with the pack and everything. It'd be a very sort of similar scenario of, we've got this kind of incursion almost into these like allied, forces. So it would be kind of be like, a Mordramoth 2.0 sort of situation again.
It could be. The only and this would be where I'm like, that would be kind of funny. The difference would be that everybody would be looking at only male Norns suspiciously, because only male Norn can become Sons of Svanir. Women are not allowed in that club. So everybody would perfectly be like, oh yeah, we'll trust all the women, but like the men need to stay home. We don't want you on the battlefield. We don't trust you. Right. Yeah, that could be a problem. So I don't know that we would see that appear within lore necessarily. And I don't know that a son of Svanir could hide it. Like, the Norn are so braggy about what they've done and what they believe, and like the fact that they're always drunk. I just don't know that they could hide it.
Yeah. Well, it brings up a point too. Is like, well, if we do trust the female Norn, right? Well, they'll never get corrupted because they're women. Could Jormag use that to his advantage? Kind of I've lulled them into this false sense of security.
Yeah.
Let me go after the women now and tear them down in a similar way to how Mordramoth, when he sent out that call, got so many of the Sylvari to instantly switch.
Especially if Jormag has absorbed Mordramoth's power now,
right.
Mordramoth had power over mind. So
I don't know. Well, Drax is saying that I think he says they even kill Ice Brood that were female Norn. I think the they there is referencing that Sons of Svanir. Yeah. And there are Norn agents in the Order of Whispers. So at least some know how to keep a secret.
Right.
This is true.
This is true.
This is true. But I just from what I know, like my experience here, when you hear and see the Sons of Svanir in game, they're like the braggiest of the ultimate. Yeah, they're the ultimate bros. Yeah. And I just don't know that those ones could be sneaky and subversive that way. I could be wrong. I think it would make for a really good interesting content for ArenaNet to do. I just don't know that they would do it.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. So the idea with the spirits too. We've seen that Jormag has taken over or destroyed or gotten rid of previous spirits of the Norn or spirits of the wild that the Norn follow. You know, we've got Owl is missing, and we've got the shrine that's still down in Snowden Drifts in the southeast corner. Ox and Doliac, we haven't heard from them. Wolverine, haven't heard from her. Wolverine, Eagle. So, how safe? I guess how safe? How safe are the spirits of the wild from being, I don't know if corrupted by Jormag or destroyed? I don't know. It feels like the Norn rely on the spirits of the wild to kind of guide them.
Yeah.
So if you destroy this core thing of a people's religion, for lack of a better word, what does that do to the people itself?
It would destroy them. I mean, if you have this core tenement, I mean, wherever they go, they know the spirits of the wild are with them. So they, you know, their mecha is something that they carry with them. It's within nature, and if you literally destroy those spirits, like, I think they would fall apart. And before Jormag absorbed magic from Zaitan from Mordremoth, I mean, he was able to kill a spirit of the wild and possibly kill several, or at least capture or wound them.
Or eat,
like
as they say in chat right now.
Yeah, so now that he's absorbed magic from two more dragons, he's stronger. The other spirits, I don't see them being able to take Jormag down. So something's going to have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I think the spirits of the wild could be an interesting way for, just like Aurene, we're looking at Aurene as like, okay, this will be one way we're absorbing magic, but for the good of the world. I think the spirits of the wild could be another way. That, you know, once we get Jormag down, destroy him somehow, and we've got that big release of magic, it could be that maybe it revives the spirit of the wild, goes in, you know, into a newborn spirit of the wild, or the ones that still exist absorb that magic, so that it's not out in the world and being chaotic. I think that would be an interesting way that the story could go.
Yeah. And Drax brings up in chat that we have seen the Sons of Svanir try and feed others, you know, the spirit of Minotaur I think that's the early Norn personal story.
Yep.
I'm going to say it's like for one of the first chapters, 10, probably the level 10, if I'm mistaken. Hope they'll correct me, or you will. Yeah, so I don't know, it took the player character a bit of effort to get Minotaur not to be eaten, or to defeat the Svanir or thwart their plans there. I don't know.
Well, even with the Minotaur, Norn didn't at first believe that. It was like one Norn that was saying like, no, there's spirit of the Minotaur, and everybody else was like, whatever.
Right.
And it wasn't until that we saw the spirit of the Minotaur that other Norn were like, oh, I guess there is other spirits of the wild.
Yeah.
So we could potentially see a brand new spirit of the wild. I don't know, a spirit of the bunny. I don't know. Come in, and that's, you know, the spirit of the wild that absorbs the dragon magic. And that is a very valid way that ArenaNet could decide this is a new story that's we're gonna see evolve, and how magic gets absorbed over here. So we've got Aurene over here, we've got Spirits of the Wild up here, you know, we just need a couple more that are absorbing the wild magic that's out in the world, and we'll all be good. But we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I know, all these wait and sees. Yeah. So frustrating. Yeah, I I think it can lead them also to interesting things on just learning more about the Norn, because really what do we know about them? They hunt, they drink, they hunt and drink, and drink some more.
They drink while hunting.
Yeah. And they brag about it, It just feels like, it kind of casts them as being somewhat one-dimensional in a way, or two-dimensional. I would like to see them fleshed out a bit more, and we don't really get to see them as much. Yeah. But we've got Bram, who's shaved his head because of his mom.
He did the thing.
Yeah, and I don't know where are we going to go with this kid, with these people.
I'm hoping that this next bit of living story, or expansion, whatever it's going to be, is more Norn-centric. I think, and it feels odd saying this because Heart of Thorns was so much, it's about the Sylvari and being like that they were dragon minions. It's still in a way the game to this day has felt very human-centric. Mm-hmm. All the outfits, all the armors, all the weapons that we've been seeing in game have been very human-centric in design. And I'd kind of been hoping with Heart of Thorns that we would be seeing outfits that are specifically designed, with Sylvari. So a lot of plants. We got one outfit that was like Mordrim-inspired plant outfit, but the weapons to date have all been, pretty much human design. I would really like it if we got more of a Norn-centric feel as we go into fight Jormag. And if it's Jormag and Primordus, then let's make it Norn and Asura-centric.
It feels very much like they're including all the races apart from human, because even there's stuff going on with Whitlock and Char at the moment, and potentially Karkatoric and Alona. That's Char territory as well. Which I'd be up for because I'm a Char main. So.
And it feels, part of me feels weird saying I don't want it to be so human centric because I am a human main. My 3 mains are humans, but I do want to see more of the other races, cultures come into play. So gliders that feel like, okay, this is totally an Asura glider, or this is totally a Norn glider. This outfit is, these 5 outfits in the gem store are totally inspired culturally by the Norn. Norn look human, but they're not, They have a different culture, and that should be reflected.
It feels like we got more information about, we really haven't learned as much about the Norn since Eye of the North, when they were one of the core focuses there.
Yeah.
Which, coincidentally, we also learned about the Asura in that expansion.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it feels like, in a lot of ways, it's been on... Their lore has been on standstill. We got bits from the personal story, but it just hasn't progressed any further since then. And that's, we did see Sylvari progress with Heart of Thorns, so I would expect to see when they turn towards the dragon that is in line with the Asura, and in line with the Char, and in line with the Norn, that we would get more insight into those races. So.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because for me it's felt like, in a way, that the lore that we've gotten especially with Heart of Thorns and the Living World episodes we've gotten so far, almost like the game has kind of tied back in a way to Eye of the North in a way. So we got to find out what happened with the Pale Tree when launch happened. We got the Sylvari. Which were the big feature of Heart of Thorns. And then now, the 3 races that featured in Eye of the North are starting to the dwarves, we're starting to see some of them. And, the Norn have potential to grow into something more in the next steps. So, and the Asura do as well. So, I don't know, it just feels like they're, in a way, kind of bringing back some of their loose end ties, or, their directions that they could have gone or explored further.
It definitely feels like at last they remember, oh, that's right, we had another game that ties in with this game. Like, they're the same timeline. Maybe we should touch on some of that. Which I think is a really good move. And they're doing it in a way that I don't feel like it's it's isolating new players to like, oh wait, I don't understand. What is this Lazarus guy floating around? How does this connect? Like, I feel like no, they're bringing enough in that you don't need to play Guild Wars 1 to understand these connections. But for players that have played, oh my god, it's amazing. Like, for me, when I saw Lazarus pop up, I was like, oh my god, I got the vapors. Get my smelling salts. I was just like, I was ecstatic. I was just losing my mind.
I was definitely the same. I think I may have just blacked out.
I mean, we kind of had that same reaction, like episode 5 of like season 2. That was like our, oh my gosh, they're bringing back the Guild Wars 1 lore finally, you know.
Yeah.
But the idea that you brought up earlier, that if they were to, you know, take us in the direction of Alona, it would feel a bit like Whiplash. So I don't know. I feel like if Alona is far away, into the future still, that feels good. Because they've got so much already going on. I would hate for them to start kind of like short shrifting themselves with the stories that they're developing now to... I mean, there is so much lore that, you know, Alona could be 10 years out and I would be fine with that. Because there's so much in the maps that we have that is dragon related, that isn't dragon related. I mean, they could kill Codicus off right now, and I'd be like, okay, well, he's kind of a jerk, but, like... Yeah.
Like, I feel like there should be more there. Like, I've always wanted him to make an actual push for the Crichton throne. Like, I wanted to see Jenna have to go on the run for a while. I'm a big vocal advocate of, I want to see something happen in the Wizard's Tower. Like, what is going on there? You just walk around and you're like, wait, you're talking about you hear like screaming at night? Like, that's not normal, people. You have elementalists that are your servants, like, and there's this giant floating wizard's tower that people go off to study and apprentice and never return. Something hinky is happening there. Like, there's so many, and that's just one area, and I know it so well because it is my favorite area that I'm like, what's going on here? There's an Asura lab. Oh my god, does anybody know about this? There's you can walk around and go into one of the houses, and there is this Asura lab that is set up, but there's no Asura.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that comes out. Yeah, it comes out in one of the personal story. No, not personal story, or is it one of the order story steps? It's one of the two. It's either a personal story directly for order, or racial. But there is a lab there.
Yeah. So, and that's, like I said, this is just one area. There's other areas that are, you know, Wizard's Tower like, where it's come from Guild Wars 1, or they've set it up within Guild Wars 2, and there's so much potential lore there that it is, you know, it's just like in a play when, you know, like, oh, you brought in a gun in Act 1, well, then the gun needs to fire before the play is over in Act 3. And I'm waiting for the Wizard's Tower to explode. I'm waiting for amazing things to happen there. So if we were we fought Primordus and he's down, we fought Jormag and he's down, we fought Kralkatorrik now and he's down, and we're just going to leave Tyria and go off into this other world. I'm like, what about the other stuff that you put in game? Like,
yeah. Right. Oh, Drax brings up in chat that the Asura lab, it's a level 30 personal story step, and it's an arcane eye base. Yeah, I think that's right. I think you're right there, Drax. Yeah, you get to pick it and basically try and infiltrate the base by basically protesting, kind of like the protesters were doing the other day, or last night, I should say, in some of the cities here in New York, just saying, like, you know, you guys suck, and to try and basically to goad them out and lure them out, and you finally do win and infiltrate and.
But that's just like, that's more questions there, and I should have remembered this because I just played that story the other week. There's an Arcane Eye base, which is the secret police for the Arcane Council. Why is there a secret police base for the Arcane Council, which control Radasum, over by Wizard's Tower, which is rather far?
Yeah.
So
shady. I like that we do get to learn how shady the Arcane Council really is. I mean, it's just another one of these flavor things that if you don't play the personal story for Asura, or you don't have any Asura character, you kind of miss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The fact that one of the council members tried to kill off all the other council members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The fact that the head of the council is super racist.
Yeah.
Let's say. Yeah, super racist. Let's go super racist. Like, believes Asura is the ultimate race, should basically rule all the other races.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The fact that there is an Inquest member on the council. The 3 deans of the colleges are also on the council.
Yep.
And then there's just like a couple randoms. So yeah, there's some stuff happening there, and I think again, tons of potential for Living Story. We've seen, I think it's felt like the first season, the second season of Living Story for me again did feel kind of human centric. We started seeing them aim towards, with the second season, like, okay, we've got Scarlet Briar, so things are starting to become Asura, but I want to see what potential with the other races, and if it's no, we're leaving Tyria and we're going on to another continent. As much as I love Nightfall, I just feel like there's still so much lore that they could touch on in the
continent we have. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I completely agree. I feel like at this point going to Alona, just because once you go to that new continent, like, you have to think like the living world beyond that is gonna have to be assumably focused on that continent as well. So you kind of leave behind, Tyria as a continent.
You froze.
Yeah.
I mean,
there you go. Now you're back. That was weird.
I know. I keep freezing today. I'm not entirely sure why.
I don't know. Your internet is just special.
Maybe. What was I saying? I totally forgot what I was saying. Oh shit.
That if they go to Alona, it's like you'd have to like leave everything.
Yeah, you basically just
behind.
leave behind everything you were kind of setting up in Tyria, at least for a couple of years, whilst you do Living World, and then whatever expansion happens beyond that. So I don't know, maybe we won't actually go to Alona, and we'll just stick.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is just a great big troll.
Maybe.
Like I said, like, this is them like trying to confuse us. They're distracting us. They put in this model of this Alona jungle worm, desert worm, to distract us from what they're actually gonna do. Like, it was totally intentional. I believe that's what I'm gonna say.
That would actually be cool. I would find that cool.
Right? I would be like, good one, ArenaNet, you guys, you got them. Because so many people out there are digging for the spoilers that they want to find and put out, and like, oh, look what I found proof of. And I'm the person who I didn't watch a single Star Wars, what was it, the Force Awakens? I did not watch a single trailer before going to see it in theaters. I was like, I want to know nothing. I want to go in, and I want it to be magical. So I'm the same way with GuildLores Story. Like, I don't want to know any spoilers. I don't want to know any, like, oh, well, it's basically confirmed because we got this thing that we've data mined. Stop data mining. I don't want to know. Like, if you want to data mine for yourself, that's fine. Have at it. But I don't want to know anything until I see it in game and my player character is up against the giant bunny of doom, and it's like, oh my god, ArenaNet, that's amazing. Like, I don't want to know anything. Sorry.
It's fine, it's good. I was going to say that Rangu brings up in chat, what if the Wizard Tower is the location of the next raid? And that has actually been, I know who brought it up. I think it was Wooden Potatoes brought that up in one of his videos a couple months ago. But it is something that has been speculated. How much would it make you mad? If they, or not make you mad, maybe, or entice you to, go try out raid content for.
Oh my god, I would have to actually learn how to raid. I want to learn how to raid now because there's story in that raid. And I'm sort of terrified. I'm like, oh god, I'm going to have to force myself to figure out how to make a good build on my character and, like, not die. I'd say I'm glass cannon, but that would assume that I did damage before I died. So, I need to get better. I'm not as bad as I used to be. I can definitely sometimes hold my own, but I play for the lore. I advertise this. I play for the lore, and raiding is like not giving an inch. It's not going to forgive you, like, oh, you play for the lore? Just go on ahead. Like, no, it's like, oh, that's cute. Boom. So,
Yeah.
I would need to really focus on, like, figuring out my stuff. If it was Wizard's Tower was a raid, I'd weep, and then I would, like, get on Reddit and be like, guys, I don't know what I'm doing. Just tell me what to get. What do I buy? I don't know.
I think... yeah, I think... I like raids for the aspect that they can explore, like, stories that aren't part of, like, the main story arc, but they can, like, stick all the lore-y stuff kind of in there. But on the flip side, it sucks for, like, you know, people like you that don't necessarily actually raid, that can't necessarily experience that content.
Yeah. And I know there was some talk of, like, oh, well, there should be, like, a store, like, a way for players like me to just get the story, to go through the raids and we just get the story, like an easy version.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as the story mode, as much as I would like to be like, yeah, let's do that because I'm terrible, at the same time, the day that I actually managed to get through a raid and like it's not story mode, you can believe that I'm going to be celebrating and just be like so filled with so much pride. It's not impossible. It's not easy. Like I said, it's not there like, just go on ahead. We'll let you. Fine. Like, no, it's there to make you learn. And I want to learn and I want to get better. So I'm not scared of that.
There you go.
Well,
Yeah, that's basically why I started. I mean, I was looking forward to getting to know more about the bandits, and when I learned that it was gated behind the raids, I was like, come on, man, why? I want to know this story. And yeah, I said, well, I like challenging content, or at least trying it, so
yeah,
now trying it.
Yeah, I think instead of doing like the story mode, if they had, you know, I don't know, I think they had gotten rid of their dungeon team and now it's just the raiding team they have. If they brought back a dungeon team and like had a version of the raid that was like, okay, here is a dungeon and it's still challenging, like, but like maybe that's how you get your story versus just like me running in and being like, I'm gonna story mode it, guys. Yay, neat. Like, no, I make it a dungeon, make it challenging. So I think that could be one way, but I don't see them ever. Because it feels like it's working against the fact that they're trying to have good raids if they did a dungeon mode. But I totally feel like when dungeons were the thing that they were putting in game, that the Wizard's Tower was like, okay, it's going to be a dungeon someday. And so now that dungeons are not happening anymore, it's raids. It's totally set up perfectly to be a raid. And I feel like to make people really want to go in there, it has to connect to Living Story somehow. There has to be something where there is the wizard, and I don't know what he's attacking, he's doing something, and we're going to fight the wizard, and so that's the Living Story. So that way you don't have to do the raid, like just like you didn't have to do the raid this last one. But that there is more story there, and you get more of that, like, oh, okay, so this is why the Bloodstone exploded. This is what was happening to lead up to that whole event that we get to see, but it's in the raid. It's there. Yeah. You just have to figure out how to play and not die. I
think the issue with tying it to Living World is that you then kind of limit, I guess, your raid like options, locations of where you could go. Because if you kind of, I know what a lot of other MMOs do is their raids kind of aren't particularly related to whatever's going on necessarily in their version of Living World or whatever, and they have lots of lore in there that maybe are answering questions that have gone unanswered for a number of years, but it doesn't directly kind of affect Living World stuff. And I think I don't know, I'd kind of prefer that in a way, because I don't know, it's like a nice change of pace, I guess. You kind of get to experience a different story, and you're not stuck in this one kind of story arc, and you get to go and do something different for a little bit. And it also kind of has the impact of it, if you don't raid at all, it doesn't impact your experience of the Living World and the content that's meant to be for everyone.
Yeah. I think they could totally do that. I mean, you could point to any any map, like literally close your eyes and point to a spot and be like, Kora, create a theoretical raid story for here, and I'd be like, okay, I'm down, let's do this. Because there's so much lore. You can literally close your eyes and point to a spot on the map and be like, oh yeah, that's where the such and such battle took place. So there's clearly going to be relics and stuff, or centaurs, and like, why not? We can have a raid. Yeah, there's tons of lore that doesn't have to be connected with living story. I just feel like the Wizard's Tower, the fact that it's not just the Wizard's Tower, there's this little town that has developed because of the Wizard's Tower, and they talk about hearing screams and people disappearing, and there's the elementals. Like, the fact that there is stuff down here where the player character can run around and talk to NPCs, for that one specifically, I feel like it would be a big shame if it wasn't somehow tied with living story.
Well, I just remembered something. That corner of, what is that, Kessex? Yeah, that's Kessex Hills, isn't it? That corner of Kessex is not that far from that one area where the destroyers are active.
Yeah.
So they could connect it to something that's going on with Primordus.
Yeah, there's the waypoint. The closest waypoint to the Wizard's Tower is right next to the Destroyer cave, and where they've got the little fire sprouts that you
where you've got to rescue that one girl who always goes getting lost.
Yeah, I'm not moving till that thing's gone. Yeah. I just did that last night. So that's right there. And if you go the opposite direction and you run, then there's the are they ogres? I can't even remember. The big ugly green dude. Etten, thank you. And there's the strawberry little strawberry farm. Yeah. And then you hop on your glider and sail across the water, and there is the Wizard's Tower. Was it Wizard's Fief is, I think, the town ship. And they get a lot of their money from the tourism that comes in to see the Wizard's Tower and to see these nice, gentle, tamed elementals that are just, when they explode, they're going to destroy everything, and I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I like that they've got so many avenues, and that we're I don't know, I just this little patch of not having anything new right now is kind of, throw me a morsel or something.
Yeah, it's perfect for speculation. I think that's why people data mine, is because they're looking for, like, I need something, so I have to go find it myself, even if I have to dig through things that I'm not supposed to be digging through. And look what I found, guys! Garenhof, Wizard's Fief is the area name. Thank you, Josh.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's so much potential, and I'm very excited to see what ArenaNet does with this living story, with the next expansion over the next several years. Especially because they've gotten so good just with this past season that they're only going to get better now that they figured out, like, okay, this is like the standard for, like, good that we're meeting, like, and you're only going to get better from there. So I'm very excited.
Absolutely. Hopefully we get some sort of morsel this month to tide us over. Let's not forget, they did put in the new raid portal, so maybe that's this month. Who knows?
Yeah,
we'll wait and see.
I'm waiting for that. Whatever you're gonna throw at us.
Absolutely. Yep. So I think that's probably a decent place to leave it. I think we've done a fair amount. So a big thank you to Kora for joining us. Where can people find you, Kora?
You can find me on Twitter at GuildLores. I'm also on Tumblr at GuildLores and Instagram, and basically any sort of social media. Just look up GuildLores, and there I will be.
Excellent. And you're also part of the Shadow the Dragon podcast, correct?
I am. They found me through my Twitter account and were like, "Hey, you want to be a special guest on an episode?" And then they made the mistake of inviting me back, and now I refuse to leave. So, yeah.
Excellent. So, make sure you go and check that out. So to everyone that's joined us in live chat, a big thank you. Don't forget, we are live every Thursday at 10 p.m. GMT UK time, 2 p.m. Pacific. on twitch.tv/GuildMag. I totally forgot what I was going to say next. If you can't join us live, you can always catch the recorded version on our YouTube, youtube.com/GuildMag, or on guildmag.com, and we're also on iTunes and Google Play. Sandra, are your streams happening?
Yes, they're gonna be coming back probably in another week or so.
Okay.
Hopefully, yeah. But I've just got worky things that are keeping me from streaming.
Excellent. So Gord wanted me to plug, I think, his Extra Life. No, that's because that was.
Oh, that already happened.
That already happened. Forget that.
Gallios? Was it Gallios?
I don't know. I'm just reading these notes.
Go find somebody doing Extra Life, people, and support them because it's a cool cause. We'll just leave it there. We'll be back next week. No idea with what we're going to talk about, but we'll find out. So we will see you guys in a week's time. So bye, guys. Bye.